Okay, continuing along here with our fall spectacular dishes, and we're gonna make a white root puree. So otherwise, like similar to mashed potatoes, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of a spin on it, though we can still focus as if it is mashed potatoes. We're gonna add in here to this particular dish, these are our russet potatoes that I've peeled. Nothing fancy, just good old russet potatoes. I did do organic, but whatever, do whatever works for you. Some cauliflower. So a nice way to kind of lighten it up a little bit, add some additional flavor, and some parsnip. So people are thinking, like, what is a parsnip? A parsnip is kind of a yellow carrot, but I mean a white carrot. It grows the same, but it just has a like a kind of unique flavor. It's earthy. But you could also assume that we're just doing, potatoes here otherwise. You could throw in like a garlic clove if you wanted, a raw garlic clove in here. I think the recipe also maybe has some fennel, and we couldn't find it at the time, so we didn't put any fennel in there. Leeks, kind of anything white. It's kind of like a white root. So, the leeks certainly kind of grow under the ground. The parsnip grows under the ground. The potatoes grow under the ground. And one thing about this to recognize is that's really important with this particular dish. I'm going to peel this while we're chatting. Is that you really need to cook these in cold water. So that is like my biggest tip to you if you're going to be making mashed potatoes is cold water. Anything from the ground should be cooked in cold water. And the reason why, just so you can understand, is because you need to cook it from the inside out. So if you started cooking, these potatoes, say for example, with hot water, it would start cooking it from the outside. So it would be so hot already that it's going to start cooking the outside before it's had a chance to cook anything on the inside. So what's going to happen is going to be unevenly cooked. So it's not going to taste as good. The other thing is you want your pieces to be on the bigger side. If you cut everything too small, then you're going to soak up a lot of water, and they're going to be, more kind of soggy, or, I want to say soggy is not the right word, but I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but they're not going to be quite as, pure. So, all right, so I think we have a fair amount here. So over here in my pot, I'm going to turn this on. So in are going to go our potatoes. And again, like, same thing with mashed potatoes. You could just pretend these are just potatoes and we're not adding all this other stuff, but you're doing the same technique. Adding in these. Now you could add the cauliflower now. I'm going to cut this end off here. Or you could wait and add the cauliflower later. I think we'll wait a couple minutes. We'll give these a little bit of a head start here. Now we are going to season this with a little bit of salt. So a little bit of salt's going to go in there. Yep, a little bit of salt just to kind of give the water a little seasoning. And we're going to turn it on, and we're just going to boil it. We're just going to, make it nice and hot and let it boil for, it could take a while. It could take a good 15, 20 minutes. So we'll see. I'm going to add these in probably in about 5 to 8 minutes or so, and then just let it continue to boil till it's nice and soft. So our root vegetables have finished cooking. Remember, we had the parsnip, which is kind of like the white carrot. We have the russet potato. I mean, you could use really any kind of potato. And the cauliflower. So they all were fork tender, and I have them on the heat here, and I'm going to add some butter and some milk. So I'm using whole milk. You could use whatever you like, sour cream, cream cheese, so whatever, you prefer. And, how much butter, I mean, it really depends on, how much butter you like, right? I mean, what do you want? So, all right, get a little spoon here. Just going to let that butter melt. I'm going to let the milk heat up. I'm going to add some milk here. Turn the heat up a little bit. Now, before we start pureeing or kind of mashing, I'm going to let the butter and the milk heat and melt. Okay, so the butter has to melt fully. Just kind of let it sit there a little bit. Let that milk get nice and hot. And then we can start mixing. Now, we're definitely going to do some salt and pepper. So I'm going to grab that in a second. And we're going to use two things. So we can potentially use this as a masher, right? So the masher could work. We'll just mash away just like this. We're not going to break out the crazy hand mixer that we had if you were watching earlier. It's crazy. So we're going to add some salt. So 2 little pinches there. Now this is a situation where you could add white pepper right? Because some people don't like to kind of like, I'm just going to add a little bit because, you know, if you want to kind of keep it pure and not necessarily, you know, add the, you know, ruin kind of the white look that you have going here. I think the butter is almost melted here. I don't really, there's a little bit more there, so we'll give that another minute there. It's going to get nice and hot. Make sure our flame is up there. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I gotta light that one more time. So bear with me 1 second. I want to grab my lighter. Oh, and light that one more time. Kind of went out on me here. There we go. All right. Now we have flame. It's all right. Okay. Now I can actually hear it. Yeah. So that's good. Okay. Let's give it about 10 seconds here, and then we're going to start to mash. So again, just, you know, just to kind of reiterate here, just so you really kind of remember, you know, this could be just, pretend this is just potatoes. Remember the big tip here was cook it in cold water. Remember, so you cook it from the inside out. Cold water. Anything from the ground should start cooking in cold water if you're, you know, cooking it in that kind of, using that technique. Okay, so that's good. So we're a lot of good heat here now, boiling up a little bit there. Turn it down just a touch. And I'm just going to start mashing up a little bit. Now, you know, there's definitely a couple schools of thought here. What do people like, right? Do they like, you know, a completely smooth puree, right? Or do you like, you know, it to be a little bit more, you know, kind of chunky, a little more homey? It's looking good. I'm going to have to add a little bit more milk. It's fine. So just mix that for, let that sit for a second and get nice and hot. Turn that heat up real quick. You can hear that, right? That means heat. All right. I think it depends on how you're serving it. I think, you know, we're serving this with the chicken. Am I getting all over myself? We're serving this with the chicken, so I think it's okay to have a little bit of texture to it. I'm kind of fine with that. So I'll just show you the hand mixer. This is what you'd want to use if you want it to be, you know, a little bit more. This is a hand blender. This is a great tool. I love these. If you want it to be a little bit more puree, okay? And that makes it a little bit smoother. So really it's, you know, kind of your preference and kind of what tools you have at home. Looks good. Looks great. I'm just going to give it a good taste so I don't burn my mouth here, right? Let's see. Okay. So basically what we're going to taste for now is just seasoning, right? I would like, again, don't forget to taste your food, my friends. Like make sure that, you know, it has enough salt, it has enough pepper, it just kind of has enough depth. That's good. It's just like, I don't know, I mean, that's yummy. Just has a good creaminess to it. It's going to be perfect with the chicken. And honestly, it's very subtle. I mean, it's like, you know, it's not like you're tasting an overwhelming amount of cauliflower or amount of the parsnips. It's just kind of a good, you know, kind of a nice balance here. So, looks good. I think it's nice and creamy. Can I just get like one little quick, like little look here? The final look there. Looks good. All right.